Hello, welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now today we have a puzzle with an interesting anecdote behind it. Let me tell you about this puzzle. It's by Richard Stolk, who recently was one of the main organisers at the World Sudoku Championships, so responsible for creating the puzzles and organising them such that the competitors had a fair chance to complete each round. Now, Richard rejected this puzzle, even though he created it himself, on the grounds of difficulty. And that's even though, apparently, it involves no difficult techniques to solve it. It is, it should be accessible to all of us. We don't have to know anything, any complicated X-wings, swordfishes, anything like that. It should just be solvable. Now, since Richard took that decision, I've had 2 emails in the last 3 days from world-class solvers asking us to do a video on this puzzle. And I'm guessing that's either because it's particularly brilliant or particularly difficult, or it certainly has me intrigued. So I'm going to try and do it for you now. I hope this video won't be too long. Bear in mind, if a puzzle, when we say a puzzle is too difficult for the World Sudoku Championship, these guys are solving at a phenomenal pace. So, this might be just a puzzle that would take those guys, 6 or 7 minutes, where it should be taking them 4 minutes. So, we have to bear that in mind when appraising a puzzle's difficulty when it's intended for the championship. Now, if you want to have a go yourself, do click on the link under the video. That'll take you to our webpage where you should be able to try the puzzle. Now, with that, let's go. Now, okay, I'm going to start off with ordinary pencil marks wherever I can see the opportunity to do so. These 2s, look, they give me a digit there. These 3s now become nice. That's going to give me another digit. 4s. Oh, so we're off to a nice start. We've found we've got a foothold in the grid. Grid's only got 1 7. Very few, only 2 8s. Is that 1 6 and 2 9s? So there's a lot of early digits in this puzzle. In fact, 5s, we can place a 5 at the top, and therefore 5 here, but not many of the sort of 6, 7, 8s and 9s. These 3s, look, they interact nicely on this block, because they allow us to pencil mark 3s into those squares, which in turn allows us to pencil mark 3s in these 2 positions. 1s interact nicely on this block in a similar way to those 3s. 1's there and there, therefore 1's here and here. This 9 means there's a 9 in either this square or this. In fact, look, we've not put a 5 in this block either. So this 5 and 9 mean there's a 5 and 9 up in these 2 squares. So there's no longer possible for this square to contain a 4. That's going to have to be the 4 here. Obviously that means this is a 6. Gives us our second 6 in the grid. Must be a 3 in one of these 2 squares because of these 3's here. 5 in one of oh no, that's me misreading the grid there. Don't do that. Don't misread the grid. Doesn't help. Wow. Now hang on. This column, look. We need to place the numbers 1, 5, 8 and 9 in this column. Now here we've got a 1 and an 8. That means this square can only be a 5 or a 9, which marries up with this 5 or 9. So there we found our first sort of more advanced piece of logic. So that means this square and this square must be 1 and 8. Not 1 and 9, 1 and 8. So 8s now are locked into 2 positions in this bottom 3 by 3. Well. Now here's something too. Now, fact. Oh, this is very, very beautiful. Now, okay, I haven't spotted what this means yet, but I have spotted 2 things. I started to look at these patterns in the grid. Now, I do a lot of the New York Times hard puzzle, and those of you who are familiar with that puzzle will know that it includes tricks like this quite a lot. And it's a great way of making a Sudoku more difficult because it gets round standard notation. With standard notation, you won't necessarily pick up the effect of this 4, 5, and 6. So do take a look at it and see if you can spot why it matters. And what we have to focus on here is the open column. So the 4, 5, and 6 here rule out, obviously, 4, 5, and 6 from all of those squares. Now, if we look down this column, there are actually only 4 cells that are open. And we know 3 of them must contain the numbers 4, 5, and 6. But we can go further because look, 4, 5, 6. So actually, these 3 squares are a triple. They must be the numbers 4, 5, and 6. Now, the thing that I noticed that was incredibly beautiful is, look, we've also got down here symmetrically placed a 1, 3, and an 8. Now we can do exactly the same trick up this column. Again, these squares cannot be the numbers 1, 3, and 8. Therefore, the 1, 3, and 8 are in those 4 squares. And look, it's quite easy to miss this, but look, there's 8, 3, and pencil marked 1s there. So this little square cannot be a 1, 3, or an 8. Therefore, those squares are 1, 3, and 8. And I can immediately see I'm going to get a digit from that at least. Because in this square I've got a pencil mark 2. That 2 is no longer possible. Now let's just tidy up some of the pencil marks therefore. That one can't be a 3. And here we've got 4, 5, 6. This one can't be a 5, so there's a 5 in one of those 2 squares, therefore. So 5, 5, and this 5 mean there's a 5 in one of these 2 squares. So if these 3 squares are 4, 5, and 6, I still need 1, 7, and 9 to complete this column. Yes, okay, so now where can we put a 9? In column 6 we have a 9 here and a 9 here, so it can only go at the top. It means there's a 9 over there. These 2 squares now must be a 1, 7 pair to complete the column. And oh goodness me, that is gorgeous. Yes, 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 yes. Look, he's done the same trick here. 2, 5, 9. Those squares can't be 2, 5, 9. Now this, because we've managed to lock this square to being a 3 or an 8, that is massive because now there are only 3 squares in row 4 of the grid that can be the numbers 2, 5, and 9. And this one has only one of those options available. That is a 5. How clever is that? Therefore, that's a 5, that's a 9. Therefore, this is a 2. 2, 2, and this 2, look. Now there's a 2, 5 pair down in this bottom box. So 1, 3, 8 triple, 2, 5 pair. We must need a 7 and a 9 into those two squares. Can't see how to resolve that, but I mean that is really stunning setting. You can see, or I can see why. Yeah, they would have to be a bit careful with a puzzle like this, because if you don't notice these tricks quickly, you probably are reduced to bifurcating, and I'm not a big fan, I have to say. I really prefer it when top solvers don't bifurcate. This 5 gives us a 9 here. That's actually, look, I could have resolved that 9 before. That's me being silly. So we've got quite a lot now going on in these first two columns. Let's just take a quick stare at these. So we need 1, 5, 6 and 7. Ah, well, oh, hang on, I can just put a 5 in here because of those 5. So that's me again being slow. 5, 1. Do the hard work, then do the slow work slowly, or the quick work slowly. Right, this 5 resolves the 5 and the 2. 5 and the 2. Now, this is a 2 because we've already got those 2s up there. We need, this square can only be a 6 or a 7 because we've already got the 1. There must be a 1 therefore in one of those two positions. Ah, now where can we put an 8 in this block? Given that 8, it can only go there. Therefore this square must be a 6 or a 7. Therefore that square is a 6 or a 7. 6, 7, 3, 8. Apologies if you're seeing the next step. Let's have a look at this row perhaps. We still need to put 4 into this row somewhere, so 4, 6 and 7 into those two squares. Can't see how to resolve that yet. Right, so what, is there another trick? Surely not. 9's here and this 9 over on this side. Force a 9 into one of those two positions. Must be a 9 also in one of those two squares because of the 9's here, here and here. So let's have a look at this row now, where we need, yeah, maybe this is a good place to look, because the 3, 8 here forces 2 digits over onto this side. So we now know, because this can only be 3 or 8, the 4 and the 6 must be over on this side. And we know, therefore, that there's a 4 in one of these two positions. Ah, and there you go. Oh, it's lovely actually. Yeah, look, there's a 4, 6, these 4, 6 pairs. I mean, this is only, I only got this because I worked my way back into this 4. And now you can see with this 4 here, and this 4 here, there is a 4 in one of those two positions. And then we've got the 6's as well interacting to force a 6 into one of those two squares. And now you can see everything's getting too cluttered here. These two squares do form a 4, 6 pair. And therefore I can unwind lots of pencil marks. This square can't be a 9 anymore, so we can remove the 9 and put the 9 in here. And this square, oh, that square can't be a 5 anyway. Ah, don't do that. I don't mean to do that, sorry. Oh, I'm on the wrong pencil markings. There we go. Now this 9 means this is a 7 at the bottom. Therefore that's a 7 and that's a 6. This is a 4. This is a 6, this is a 4. These two squares now must be 6 and 9. You can see we can now resolve the order. That means that this is a 9, this is a 3. locks a 3 into one of those two squares. And are we nearly? I think we're nearly there. Just got to tidy this up. This square must be a 4 to complete the row. That means that's a 4. These squares are 6, 7 and 8, which we know very little about, so we'll just label that and move on. Now this 3 and this 3, locking a 3 into one of those two squares, resolves this square, must now be an 8. It's the only option. So there we do a little bit more work. This now must be the 7. This must be the 1. It's a brilliant puzzle, this. It is a brilliant puzzle. That's an 8. That's a 3. 8 into one of these two squares. 3 into one of those two squares. The 1 is now resolved. This must be a 6 or a 7. That's obviously, we can put the 8 in there once we get round to it. That's an 8, that's an 8. 6, 7 here. That's not an 8 anymore. We're getting lots of 6, 7s, which are all going to be resolved by this square. 6, 7, 7, 6, 7, 6, 6, 3, 3, 1, 1, 7, check. What a lovely, lovely puzzle that was. Hats off to Richard. He is one of the best constructors of puzzles in the world. I know several people who rave about his puzzles regularly, and you know, we do puzzles like this and we see why. Absolutely gorgeous. Loved it. Hope you guys did too. Do let us know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. We really appreciate the feedback, and we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.